Chosen one, listen closely. Something strange has been happening in your spirit. You've been walking through your day with wisdom, maturity, and strength, and then suddenly you feel young again, not in energy, but in confusion. Not in joy, but in emotional storms. Why now? Why does your heart ache like it did years ago? Why are old fears whispering again? God allows reversals to rebuild your foundation, not to destroy your future. What feels like a collapse is often a construction site in the spirit. The ground is being shaken not to bury you, but to remove what was never meant to carry the weight of your calling. The plans you once held tightly, the timelines you crafted in your mind, the identity you formed based on people's opinions, they are being dismantled, not because God is angry, but because He is doing something deeper than your eyes can see. You thought you were losing everything, but heaven is clearing space for the real you to rise. When your path suddenly turns backward, when the familiar disappears and the road becomes narrow, it's not a sign of failure. It is a sign of refinement. It is the signature of a master builder who is stripping away the fragile, the temporary, and the borrowed. What was built on fear must fall. What was built on insecurity must be shaken. And what was built on the world's applause must be silenced, for what God is about to do in you requires a foundation that cannot be moved. You may have thought your progress was secure, but God sees the cracks you ignored, the wounds you covered, the lies you believed. He is too loving to let you build a palace on sand, so He reverses the flow. Suddenly, doors that were once open close. Friendships you leaned on disappear. The confidence you once had feels shaken, and in that reversal, confusion tries to enter, but heaven says, "Peace, be still." This is not your downfall, it's your divine reset. The undoing is not your ending, it's your beginning in disguise. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. You are not being pushed down, you are being dug deep. The roots must go farther than the fruit can reach. If the foundation is not steady, the blessing will crush you. But if the foundation is God, formed, nothing will be able to move you. Not storms, not critics, not even your past. This is why the reversal had to happen. This is why the shaking came, not to break you, but to bless you through the breaking. Not to reduce you, but to remind you that your future isn't built by your hands. It is spoken by God's mouth. He didn't change the direction to confuse you. He changed it to call you deeper. The world sees chaos, but heaven sees a construction zone. You are under divine reconstruction. Every setback is part of the architecture. Every delay is a spiritual measurement. Every tear you cry is cemented into the base of your becoming. And when the time is right and the foundation is secure, what rises from the dust will not just be a new version of you. It will be the chosen version, the unshakable one, built on the rock. Your teenage spirit returning is a divine alert. Something new is birthing in you. That inner fire you thought had died out is suddenly flickering again. You're noticing emotions resurface that you buried long ago, dreams whispering that once screamed within you. Questions you silenced are now demanding honest answers. This is not nostalgia. This is not weakness. This is heaven's alarm sounding in your soul, saying, "Wake up, there is more inside you still." God is not finished with you. In fact, He's only just begun. The teenage version of you, the one full of wonder, fierce belief, untamed energy, and hunger for something greater, is being stirred because a new spiritual season is about to erupt in your life. When heaven prepares to birth something extraordinary, it begins not with comfort, but with restlessness. You're not going crazy. You're being awakened. That restlessness is holy. You feel like you don't fit where you once stood so confidently. Your surroundings feel too tight, too shallow, too predictable. That's because your spirit is outgrowing your circumstances. You're no longer content to simply function. You crave meaning. You long to be used. You hunger for alignment, the teenager in you. The version unafraid of failure, the one who dared to dream without needing permission, is surfacing because God is breathing life into your original design. The world trained you to be cautious, to be calculated, to be quiet, but heaven remembers who you really are. The passion, the curiosity, the intensity of your younger self was not immaturity, it was purity. Before the heartbreaks, before the betrayals, before the disappointments hardened your spirit, you believed that anything was possible, and God is calling that belief back to the front lines. It feels strange, doesn't it? You feel like you're being pulled backward, but that's how slingshots work. The tension is a sign of launch. The uncertainty is a prelude to clarity. You are not being reversed. You are being recharged. The teenage spirit coming alive again is not a regression. It's a resurrection. That season in your life, the one you thought was long buried, was not a mistake. It was a preview, and now God is calling you to complete what you began. The gifts you abandoned, the prayers you stopped praying, the goals you placed on dusty shelves, they're returning for a reason, because what's about to be born through you requires the rawness, the wildness, the faith of a teenager who hasn't been diluted by the noise of doubt. This birth will not be quiet. It will not be convenient. It will disrupt your comfort, shake your rhythms, and dismantle everything built on survival instead of surrender. But it will be beautiful. Because God never wastes a season, and He never resurrects something unless it still has divine purpose. Your teenage spirit is not a flashback, it's a foretelling. It's a holy signal from heaven. You are being reawakened because what's next cannot be built by who you've become. It must be built by who you were always meant to be. When the chosen ones revert, it's not regression. It's a spiritual reset. It may feel like everything is falling apart, like the wisdom you once walked in is now being tested by the same temptations you thought you had outgrown. The emotions are intense, the questions louder, and the doubts more personal than ever. But this is not the undoing of your progress. It is heaven clearing the stage for a divine reset, a holy interruption designed to bring you back to alignment with your original purpose. You are not being taken backward to punish you, but to position you. The things you thought you had mastered are resurfacing because God wants to deal with them, not with band-aids, but with breakthrough. He is not satisfied with surface level healing. He wants to go to the root. When a chosen one reverts, they feel exposed. They feel like they are losing ground, but in truth, they are being stripped of every false identity they have picked up on the journey. The titles, the masks, the expectations, they all have to come down. Because when God resets you, He brings you back to the foundation, and if the foundation isn't right, the future won't stand. This is why your spirit is restless. This is why your heart feels like it's being rewired. Because the blueprint you've been living by is being edited by the hands of heaven. God is removing what no longer serves your purpose. He is calling you to let go of everything you built without Him at the center. It's not regression, it's recalibration. You are not who you used to be, but to become who you're called to be, you must confront who you were. The version of you that ran from pain, avoided truth, feared rejection. God is calling that version out so He can redeem it. He's not asking you to pretend it never existed. He's asking you to surrender it so He can resurrect something greater. The spiritual reset doesn't just affect what you do, it changes how you see, how you think, how you trust. It pulls you out of autopilot and forces you into intimacy with God again. The fire you once had is being rekindled, not through achievement, but through humility, through stillness, through letting go. It's a painful process, but it's sacred. You were chosen not for perfection, but for surrender, and this reset is not a detour, it is the path. Others may look at your life and assume you've gone backward. Let them talk. They don't know what God is building beneath the surface. They don't see the layers He's peeling back, the strongholds He's breaking, the faith He's restoring. You're not off track. You're on holy ground. The reset feels like loss, but it is divine strategy. God never resets what He does not plan to release, so hold on. The shaking is not the end, it's the preparation for something you can't yet see, but were always destined to carry. Old emotions resurface to be healed, not relived. Don't fear the fire, you are being refined. When the ache returns, when the tears feel strangely familiar, when your chest tightens from memories you thought were buried for good, it can be tempting to believe you've fallen backward. But heaven sees differently. What you call a setback, God calls a summoning. He's calling those wounds into the light, not to punish you with pain, but to purge you of its lingering residue. You're not being dragged through the past. You're being delivered from its hidden chains. The emotions are rising not to defeat you, but to reveal where healing must take root. This is not torment. This is transformation in motion. You prayed for growth. You asked for purpose. But what you didn't know is that purpose demands purity. Destiny requires deliverance. And so God, in His mercy, is stirring up what was left unresolved. Not to shame you, but to sanctify you. That sharp sting of rejection, that sudden surge of fear, that old heaviness that presses against your joy, they're not signs of failure. They are the voices of unfinished business within your soul, and the fire you feel, it is the holy fire of refinement. It is the furnace where impurities rise and truth remains. Gold cannot shine until the heat has burned away the excess. And chosen vessels do not walk into glory with untouched wounds. God heals by revealing, and He reveals by allowing what's hidden to surface. This process is not comfortable, but comfort was never the goal, completion was. The Spirit is not taking you through this to destroy you, but to deliver the purest, truest version of you. The version that can stand in storms and not shake. The version that doesn't carry old offenses into new seasons. The version that's been cleansed of bitterness, fear, and shame, because the weight of what's coming requires a soul that's whole. And wholeness doesn't come by avoiding the fire. It comes by standing in it and letting God do His holy work. You may feel vulnerable, raw, even exposed, but vulnerability is the birthplace of victory. You are not losing your strength. You are gaining authenticity. The fire is not here to break you. It's here to burn away what cannot enter your future. Every tear you cry is cleansing. Every emotion you process is part of the healing. You are not reliving trauma. You are rewriting your response. Where once you shut down, now you open up. Where once you fought in silence, now you fight in surrender. Where once you feared the flame, now you recognize it as your refining. So don't run from the feelings. Don't numb them. Don't bury them again. Let them come. Let them speak. And then let God silence them with His truth. He is not done with you. He is doing something eternal in the invisible. You are not fractured. You are being forged. What rises from this fire will not be fragile. It will be faithful, fearless, and free. The teenage version of you carried dreams. God is reawakening them for your assignment. Before life hardened you, before disappointment taught you to settle, before you started trading purpose for survival, there was a time you dared to believe in more. You had visions that didn't make sense to the people around you, passions that felt too big for your environment, and desires that burned so deeply you couldn't sleep at night. That wasn't immaturity. That was revelation. You weren't being unrealistic. You were being prophetic. The world saw a wild imagination, but heaven saw a child in tune with the whisper of God. And now, after all these years, God is bringing those dreams back, not to mock your past, but to mark your present with fresh purpose. You see, time and pain have a way of convincing us that our earlier hopes were foolish. We start thinking those dreams were just youthful emotions, mere enthusiasm without wisdom. But heaven never called them foolish. God planted them before the world could contaminate them. Those dreams were seeds, and now the season of germination is over. The soil of your soul has been broken, watered by tears and tilled by trials, and now God is awakening what He never forgot. He's resurrecting what He hid in you. That teenage fire is not dead, it's been waiting. Waiting for the moment you would be mature enough to carry the weight of it with humility. Waiting for the time your character could finally hold what your heart saw years ago. It's no coincidence those old desires are resurfacing. You thought they were gone, but they were only buried. You thought your calling changed, but God's purpose remains the same. His gifts and callings are without repentance. What He spoke over you then still stands now. You may not recognize yourself anymore, but He does, and He's calling that version of you forward, the one who was fearless enough to believe that the world could be changed by a single voice, a single step, a single act of obedience. The world taught you limits, but God is reminding you of your divine license. You've outgrown some things, yes, but not your assignment. That teenage fire carried raw faith, the kind of faith that wasn't scared of how, when, or who. And that's exactly what this next chapter requires. God is reawakening those dreams because what's ahead of you isn't about logic, it's about obedience. It's about returning to the well of your origin, where purity met promise. Where belief wasn't filtered through trauma, where you didn't question if you were worthy. He's reminding you that your assignment wasn't meant to make sense. It was meant to make history. So when you feel that spark again, don't ignore it. It's not a distraction, it's a divine nudge. You're not too old, it's not too late, you haven't missed it. The teenage dream is God's whisper saying, now you're ready. What was once a glimpse is now becoming a mission. What was once fantasy is now your calling taking shape. This reversal is not a setback. It's God taking you back to remind you who you really are. You may look around and feel like things are falling apart, like progress has slipped through your fingers, like everything you worked for is unraveling. But what you call loss, God calls alignment. This sudden pull backwards is not punishment, it is precision. Heaven is not confused. God is not improvising. This is the part of the journey where he steps in, not to shame you, but to strip away what never belonged to you in the first place. You see the reversal as regression, but God sees it as return. Return to identity, to purity, to the version of you that heaven always recognized before the world put its fingerprints on your soul. Somewhere along the way, you picked up labels. You picked up expectations, roles, and responsibilities that looked good on paper, but suffocated your spirit. You started to walk in strength that wasn't yours, to speak words that weren't rooted in your truth, to pursue dreams that were applauded by others, but never confirmed by God. And now, when it feels like the ground is shifting beneath your feet, when doors close without explanation, when relationships fade and platforms crumble, it's not chaos. It's course correction. God is not trying to embarrass you. He's trying to expose what was never you to begin with. He is pulling you back, not to the pain, but to the purpose. He's rewinding the tape of your life, not to make you relive failure, but to redeem the foundation. You can't build destiny on confusion. You can't carry a mantle while wearing a mask. So he takes you back to that sacred place, before the titles, before the trauma, before you started performing just to be accepted. He takes you back to remind you of your essence, your innocence, your authenticity. That's the version of you he anointed. That's the you he called. That's the you the enemy tried to bury with disappointment, fear, and delay. And now God is saying, I'm restoring what was stolen, but I'm starting with your identity. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it feels like everything familiar is being peeled away. But that's the beauty of the reversal. It's designed to empty you of every false thing so he can fill you with everything real. You didn't lose your calling, you lost your way, and this is God's way of bringing you home. The reversal is his mercy disguised as a storm. It is his kindness cloaked in confusion. He loves you too much to let you succeed at being someone you were never created to be. So he presses pause, rewinds the story, and walks you back through the places where the lie entered, where the pain planted roots, where the identity fractured. Because he's not just after your productivity, he's after your wholeness. And when you come out of this, you won't just walk in purpose, you'll walk in truth. The kind of truth that can't be shaken, the kind of identity that can't be stolen, and the kind of strength that comes only from knowing who you are in the eyes of God.